Luka Doncic and the Mavericks has to be the most disappointing team in the NBA. With as much talent that they have, and frankly, their team is simply great. It's not bad at all. They have all the requisite pieces around them, with PJ Washington being the biggest addition to their team. You would expect them to be better than where they're at right now, being one of the teams that's actually huddling around the play in and the playoffs, and whether or not they're going to be top six or even seventh or eighth or anything like that is simply just a fabrication of our minds, because we should understand that it doesn't matter where they're ranked, because if they're playing this way in the middle of the season where the season's about to end very soon, they're not really showing us anything to look for. Of course, Luka Doncic is amazing. Kyrie Irving is amazing. And matter of fact, when they're both on the court, or even when just one of them are on the court, they have some of the best offenses in the league, simply because of how great they are individually. But the issue stands not only just with their offense, but in how they run their offense. Luka Doncic plays a very centric style ball, a heliocentric style ball. And the issue with that is that you're not really allowing your teammates to get involved as much as you would want them to. We all seen that the best teams are the teams that can at least get their role players as much touches on the ball as possibly can. And listen, I know there's a lot of hoopers who listen to these videos, and you guys should know that it really is tough for you to succeed when you don't have the ball in your hands. When you haven't touched the ball in, let's say, like 4 or 5 minutes, and you have to all of a sudden chuck up a shot, shoot it up, and then hopefully it goes in. But you're cold. Your hands are cold. There's no way that you can reliably play an offense like that. And with Luka Doncic being a James Harden-esque type player, it's really difficult to understand when is your time to shine and when is not your time to shine. Because when are you going to have the ball to actually be a playmaker or actually be involved in the offense? You're only there for certain kickouts, and you have to be a recipient to Luka Doncic's greatness. But Luka Doncic can drop many video game numbers. He can drop 40 points, 18 assists, 10 rebounds. It doesn't matter, because it's all about how you get those points and what efficient manner are you getting those points. Now, this team, in my honest opinion, when you look at how the roster is constructed, is very similar, or at least as great as the Boston Celtics. The Celtics is a stacked team. Listen, we all understand that. But so is the Mavericks. Like, the Mavericks actually have great players on their team. In Hardaway Jr., of course, you have Kyrie and Luka Doncic. You even have Lively. You have Washington. You have other knockdown shooters on the perimeter. You have the opportunity to be a great team. But the issue arises with many things, of course. And we're not even getting started on defense, because defense is one of those things where I will talk about that later, because being ranked 23rd in defensive rating is just a laughing stock. And Jason Kidd should be ashamed of himself, especially being a person who played in the NBA for a very, very long time, being one of those players who not only was great on offense, but was also great on defense. But not instilling that, or not instilling some type of good scheme and discipline within their players to be a great defensive team when they have all the capabilities to do so, is simply disappointing. But in my honest opinion, it starts with the offense. Now, as great, like I said, as great as Luka Doncic is, and listen, he is phenomenal, you can only go so far with that style of offense. And it doesn't make sense to me how you don't have him running off ball more, setting more screens more, having other role players be the facilitators of the offense when he can take some time off. And you see this in many different other offenses, like the Denver Nuggets, even Golden State Warriors. But Golden State Warriors struggle for different things, but at least their role players get the ball and get some type of offense going for themselves. But Luka Doncic does not have to score 40 every game in order for them to win. They're clawing each game. They're barely getting above the teams that they're supposed to beat because of the way that their offense is ran. Now, there's only so much you can do with Luka Doncic being the heliocentric ball handler that he is. Now, I leave Kyrie Irving out of my critique for the most part, because Kyrie Irving's actually what you want as an off-ball playmaker. He can take the ball, he can handle the ball, he can do as much as he wants to do, break down defenders, but without having the ball, he is still reliable. He's one of the best catch and shooters in the league, and he's able to knock down shots, break defenders off the dribble. He is literally in the process of changing his game in order to facilitate a better offense, a better cohesion. Because imagine if it was Kyrie Irving when he first got to the Cavaliers, where he would handle the ball for a good portion of the possession. Imagine that with Luka Doncic. There would be no reason why you would have 3 other players on the court. Like, quite literally, there would be no reason because nobody else would get the ball. And you're struggling with this because, well, when you're having Kyrie is, your best backup too. Probably not even a backup. He's like 1A, 1B, right? If Luka Doncic goes out, Kyrie Irving can turn it up. And listen, the numbers don't lie. The numbers show that they're one of the best offenses in the league when it comes to offensive rating when Kyrie's on the court or when Luka Doncic is on the court. And when they're both together on the court, they're great. But it also comes down to what happens when their star players are not on the court. That is obviously going to happen. But it's also to what degree? And how is it going down? Is it going down because simply they're just not good players? Or is it going down because there's no offensive cohesion? What is the issue? And for me, when I watch the Dallas Mavericks play, it's not about talent. They have a talented squad. And I know if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you're probably looking at these games and really questioning and nodding your head. It's like, why are we not like at least top 4? At least top 4, maybe even 3. And it all comes down, like I said, to the role players not getting the ball enough. They're just simply not getting the ball enough. Their offense is very stagnant. It really comes down to a Luka Doncic and Derek Lively ball screen and how they are able to manipulate the defense. And listen, that is a pretty good, efficient offense. But when it comes to playoff time, right, and teams are able to scheme against that, how well would that work? And we have seen in the past that does not work. It does not work unless you get other role players involved. The Phoenix Suns is a really good example where they ran their Spain pick and roll, their famed Spain pick and roll every single time between CP3 and DeAndre Ayton. But you also wonder why it worked so well. It's because they had other players involved in the offense. It was not just the pick and roll. It was also having Devin Booker be as prolific as he possibly can. Also shooters on the side, shooters on the perimeters, getting them involved as well. It wasn't just, and that's why CP3 is the most efficient point guard that I have ever seen because of how he's able to get not only people who are directly involved in the play, but the people who are indirectly involved in the play. And then also still being able to get your own shots. But you don't kind of see that with the Dallas Mavericks. Matter of fact, you see more of a struggle. And it doesn't have to be that way. And Jason Kidd, and this is something that we're seeing is symptomatic of Jason Kidd's coaching. Because we are at the more than halfway point of the season. We are basically at the end game of what these teams are going to look like. And we're seeing that the Dallas Mavericks is not coached well. Now, I do have to mention, because, they're atrocious at this. They are 23rd in terms of defense. Now, I mentioned that the squad was talented, and I mainly am referring to their offense. But it also applies to their defense. There is no reason outside of Luka Doncic being tired and Kyrie Irving being a shorter guard. You need to have great team defense to mitigate those weaknesses that you're going to bring back from the offensive end. And from a lot of times what I have seen is that they're just simply not aware of their defensive assignments. And as a coach, there's no way that you're not hammering this home. How are you not hammering this home? They are the 23rd worst defense in the league with a prolific shot blocker in Derek Lively and decent defenders on the perimeter. They rank among the highest for defensive field goals made. It just doesn't make sense. And if you're going to try to make the playoffs, not only will you have to outscore your opponents, which the Dallas Mavericks has shown that they can do, but you're going to have to defend in some way, some fashion, some form. And if you're going to score 80 points and really claw and nail your way into a victory, that's fine. It's going to work in the regular season sometimes. And we're even seeing right now that it's not working in the regular season. But definitely in the playoffs, you're going to have to figure it out. But right now, all I'm seeing is that Luka Doncic is putting up video game-like numbers for no reason. And he is to blame too, because his defense is piss poor. His defense is horrible, just like Kyrie's. But Kyrie's defense is bad in the sense that he can't play off-ball defense to save his life. And that's just the reality of things. It's like, what is going on? But Luka Doncic struggles in both, off-ball and on-ball. He can't defend a fly. He can't defend nothing. And if you are a head coach for the Dallas Mavericks, why don't you run more zone? You already have pretty good defenders outside of them. Have more zone. Have them hide in the corners. Run a zone very similar to the Miami Heat. You have a shot blocker. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I keep saying it doesn't make sense because it literally doesn't make sense. This team is built to succeed. They made all the right moves to succeed, but it doesn't matter when you can just throw that away with bad coaching. And right now we're seeing so far that this season is practically going to be a wash unless something Herculaic happens. Because as great as Luka Doncic is, you cannot overcome simply a badly coached team.